Hi, and a big Manchester Theatres welcome to Ayden Callaghan, who is patrolling his way to the Palace Theatre in Manchester from the 3rd to the 15th of April as Frank Farmer in The Bodyguard. Now, you may know Aiden best as Miles D'Souza from Emmerdale or as Joe Roscoe from Hollyoaks, but he is also no stranger to the stage with performances in shows such as The Elephant Man, Bedroom Farce and Romeo and Juliet. And when he's not performing, he is busy running his theatre school with his wife, the Curious Theatre School. So he is a very, very busy man. So thank you for taking the time to chat with us today, Aiden.
It's my pleasure. Thanks for having me on.
So The Bodyguard. I'm kind of guessing that everybody knows the story, but just in case, it follows superstar singer Rachel Marron, who has a stalker. Enter your character, Frank Farmer, as the bodyguard, who immediately puts security and clamps down. She doesn't like it. So can you kind of explain and take us the story from there on?
Great. Yeah, well, I mean, I think it's, as you say, it's pretty well known, certainly to people of a certain generation. It's a classic love story with that's kind of bittersweet. That sits within a kind of epic action sort of framing. So you've outlined it pretty well there. I mean, I would explain it that, you know, there's these two irresistible forces from two very opposite worlds. One, you know, is a singer from the world of performance and glamour, and one is, you know, comes from, we can assume, a sort of military CIA background. So very, very different, you know, and yet we find out that they have more in common than they first would imagine. And they both have their set of ideals and beliefs, and they both have their own worlds and their jobs, and those two things collide. And neither of them is willing to give way for their own reasons. And what happens is they come to, through things that happen within the piece, which I don't want to give away too much, but they start to begin to understand each other. And through that, this intense, wonderful love begins to blossom before the sort of house of cards comes crashing down, because it's Rachel, the part that Whitney Houston played, that Melody's playing in this, is in mortal danger. And as the piece goes on, that danger increases, and Frank has to balance what he has in his heart versus what he knows he should be doing. And it's a great piece in that it really snowballs. It doesn't give you a moment to breathe, and particularly the second act is just you know, lightning paced. It's really punchy. And we get a great payoff at the end.
Yes, definitely. And I'm just going to pick up on what you've said there. Obviously, he has this battle, your character Frank, between his head and his heart, and he almost denies himself a relationship in order to be able, in his mind, to be able to do his job properly. Yes. So as an actor, how do you kind of look at that so that you're able to still allow the audience to like this character and not see him as a human with real emotions rather than this robot machine?
Well, you're absolutely right when you say, you know, whenever I approach anything, and one of the things we talked about on the first day of rehearsals was, you know, our job as actors is to create human beings that people can connect to, and be that in a piece like this, be that in something Lord of the Rings or Star Wars or whatever it is, you know, or a soap opera. Your job is to create a human being that people can relate to and that they care about. Now, Frank, as you say, on the surface, it's very straight. He's kind of hard. It's kind of cool. And so when I came in, for me, the easy part is that he's this kind of Superman. He's the best of the best, and you know, and what have you, and that he can deal with anything. And that's kind of the least interesting thing. For me, what it was about was getting underneath that and finding where his frailties, his fragilities, his weaknesses were, where his warmth is, what his hopes and dreams, and why has he denied himself these sorts of relationships, and what is it about this one that he is unable to deny that, or that it comes out, and why does that happen? And those are the things that make him a real person. Those are the things that make him interesting and empathetic. And they are fleeting. They're very, very fleeting in this. He's very guarded, and what we can't have, and like I used rehearsals to push the emotional journey much, much further than I can within the piece, because we can't have this over emotional bodyguard, because it wouldn't read very well and he wouldn't be able to do his job. And that's kind of his point, is that when this stuff starts coming out and things happen, all of a sudden he's like, this is why I don't do that. This is why I have to shut this stuff down, because now this person my job is to look after them. Now they're in danger. And not only that, but this is a person I'm in love with now. And I need to put my feelings and what I want, that has to come way down the list. So it is a challenge. And when you see the piece, the scenes and the script, it's very streamlined. So we don't get a great deal of time to settle into these things and let them bleed out. We have to hit these moments really clearly, and then they're gone. And so for me, it's about bringing it as close to the surface and allowing the audience to see behind the mask where it's appropriate, and then that has to be shut down again. But what is important is that he is a man. He's just a man, and he's a man with wants and dreams and love, but his path that he's chosen means he can't really have those things. But it doesn't mean that he doesn't want them.
He's a fascinating character. It really is.
Yeah.
And you've already sort of touched on obviously the fact that Rachel and Frank come from these very different worlds. Yet at the same time, I think it's the ideas behind those worlds that actually connect them, in the sense that they're both completely isolated and lonely in a way that nobody else can understand.
Absolutely.
Is that kind of the driving force for their relationship?
I think there's something in that. I think, they both lead these isolated lives. What they do is intense. What they do ultimately stands and falls on their shoulders. The buck stops with them. They both, her life is dangerous, as we come to find out. And as is his, but he has chosen to put himself in that position. But what we come to find with Rachel as well is that what she does matters to her just as much, and that she is willing to put herself on the line for what she does. And I think when he realizes that, and realizes that she's not just some diva or brat that just wants what she wants, and I'm going to do it, and no matter what, nobody's going to tell me this and that. When he comes to understand that maybe they do share a same passion and determination, drive and will, they begin to understand each other, and she has a way that she disarms him that I think has probably never happened to him in his life. And that makes life very, very difficult for him.
Yeah. And as well as, obviously, there's a lot of serious stuff within this. There's the things we've spoken about, and there is obviously at the heart of this, there's a story about this like stalker, which is this, but there's also this side of the soundtrack and all of these songs and the incredible music. And I just have to take a moment to sort of say about Melody's performance on the big night at the musicals the other night. I was literally sat clapping on my sofa, and I could probably put a memory or something to every song in this. Run to You, One Moment in Time, Queen of the Night. Do you, obviously yours is a non-singing role, but do you have a favorite song or memories attached to any of it?
Well, it's funny, isn't it? I grew up with the soundtrack of Whitney Houston. The film was one of my favourite films as a teenager. And it's interesting, you know, listen to the soundtrack every night. I'm like, this is a great song. Oh, this is a great song. They're all great songs. I think I Will Always Love You would probably be my pick, but I do love the upbeat dance numbers as well. And as you, but you know, as you say, the Big Night in the Musical's performance was exceptional, but we see that every night.
Yeah.
But what I would say as well, and the same with Emily, who plays Nikki, and Melody is, you know, Melody's doing a sensational job in this. She's not only singing the songs, but they form a core part of the narrative. They're telling a story. So it's not like getting up and just singing a song and delivering a great rendition of that song. These are songs that are emotionally connected, that are part of the character's words. So there's that as well. There's the communication of what that means in that moment, in the context of the show, which elevates it again. It's, you know, it's one thing to have an incredible, stunning voice. It's another thing to be able to make people feel.
Yeah, to emote that song as well.
To make people sit in the audience and feel what that character is feeling. And that is, you know, that's the big difference between the very, very best.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I do. It is a non-singing role, but there is a moment at the end of the first act where Frank, and again, this, you know, going back to his relationship with Rachel, it's a kind of key moment where this is a guy that it doesn't very easily let his guard down, and she kind of disarms him, and they're having this nice sort of moment together, and she convinces him to do some karaoke. And I kept thinking to myself in rehearsals, like, why would he do this? Why would he do this? He could get out of this no problem. So why is he going up there and humiliating himself? And I think it's, you know, there's a couple of things to it. I think that one is that it's a way of gaining her trust, because he's not quite been able to do that in just being great at his job. So he realizes there's another way to show her, you know, to show her that he's willing to do something that's mortifying and scary and terrible for him, and he's giving her that. And I think by this point he's got it in here now, and I think that he wants to connect with her. So, but it ends up, and then we get to hear her singing the karaoke, which is beautiful. After my, you know, after I murder, I Will Always Love You. But you know, it's a nice comedic kind of sweet moment, and it, you know, and I hate singing. I hate it. It terrifies me. It always has. So, but it's become quite a nice little moment, I think.
Yeah, and there's so many moments in this. I know the first time I went to watch it, I'll be honest, I went for the songs, but however, this time I'm going back because the experience of it, you sat there in the audience and it's like you're wrapped in the middle of a film in the theatre with all of these visuals. You've got big cinema screens, you've got lasers coming at you that make you feel like Rachel must feel. And then there's smoke haze used as projectors. I mean, from an audience viewpoint, all of these technical things are just incredible. Is it so incredible from an actor's viewpoint, or do you just think like, oh my God, I've got to manage all of this as well as...
It's interesting because when the feedback I get from people, they say it really is a spectacle, and it really is, you know, it really sort of is quite a thing to see. Obviously, I'll never get to see that. I see it from the side, and when you're on stage, you're in it. So you're in that moment, in that scene, and so you're just doing it. So you don't really get a sense of that stuff, actually. Sometimes you get a little bit of it from the side of the stage when I'm watching, I've always, I mean, I think it's such a privileged position. It's such a privilege to go on stage. Not many people get to do that, and I just enjoy being in the theatre, and I love being in the wings. And there's something really privileged and magical about watching a performance from the side, but it is very different to watching it from the front. But yeah, you know, you can feel the sound, and you can gather by the audience the reaction of that. It is quite the thing to see. And also, as you say, people come for the songs, I think, you know, and rightly so. And circling back to my point about, but we're not just doing renditions of famous songs in this show, they're part of the story. And I think that it's a great story, and I think that we're telling it really well. And my hope is that because we're creating these real humans in the middle of it that people care about, is that the payoff then with those songs is greater than just hearing a great song, because it means something more. So yeah, my sort of big regret is that I'll never get to see it, really.
Yeah. Well, maybe the next tour.
Yeah.
Before I let you go, I just want to give you the opportunity to give the Curious Theatre School a little bit of a plug, because anything that is helping young people with performing arts, I think, is fantastic. So can you tell us a little bit about that?
So yeah, the Curious Theatre School, Sarah and I moved to Lincoln a few years ago, and we sort of thought about starting a school. And both of us come from, you know, poor working class backgrounds, and the arts can be, well, we all know it can be very exclusive, and very hard and very expensive thing. And whilst the business has to make money, of course, our focus was on making it affordable and getting in a position where we could offer free places and discounted places to children who otherwise wouldn't be able to do it. And we have a whole range of, we've got students that this is what they want to do with their life. And then we've got students who it's a safe space for them, and it's something that they just enjoy. And as it's grown, we've now set up as a community interest companies, which is now we're starting to apply for grants, which should allow us to do more of the work that we're doing, reaching out into the community. We've got children of, you know, a range of the genders and sexualities and races and things, and that's what we're trying to build, is something that's totally inclusive. And we're currently, at the minute, out of our own pockets, funding about £1,500 a month in free places to children that just simply wouldn't be able to do it. And, you know, so we work with the parents on what they can do and what we can do, because ultimately it's the children that lose out, you know, and we'd rather they able to come. And so what we'll do is, if you pay for this one class, it means they can, I mean, we've got children that spend more time at the school than they do at home. They come every single day. And what's wonderful to see is, and the feedback from the parents, you know, and it's Sarah that runs it mainly. Obviously I'm here, and she's a wonderful performer, and she's doing an excellent job. You know, some of these children couldn't dance a step, and, you know, and when if you've ever seen footage of some of the shows, some of the performances these guys are turning in is absolutely spectacular. And they love it. And we've overcome, you may have seen in the news, we had a break-in at the beginning of the year, which was just dreadful. But what's great is that the community of that school and the community of the city pulled together and have helped us get back up and running. And I remember Sarah she was like, oh, you know, these people have offered to do this, this and this. And I'm like, that's because what you've done for the children, you can't put a price on, you know. And it's just such a wonderful, happy, creative environment. And we're hoping to grow and expand and be able to offer those opportunities to more and more children. And the hope is that we can even open up a dedicated sixth form that we can feed into. Because obviously we're both professionals. I've sat on and taught at drama schools and been on the audition panels, so I know what's needed to put, you know, to help them on that journey. And it's just been a wonderful thing. It's been a wonderful thing, and it continues to grow. And the main thing is, it's just the joy of seeing what it does for the kids, and really important to us that there's that you know, talent doesn't just exist in the small pool of people who can afford to do it. There's a huge amount of talent and out there across the board, and you know, we're doing our best to try and give people that opportunity.
Definitely. And it's like you say, performing arts is bigger than putting people on stage. It
Yes.
provides confidence and self-esteem and all these different things. So it's an amazing, amazing thing you're doing. So thank you. Thank you as someone who believes in it. Thank you so much for offering that to people. I'll let you go because I know you've already been shouted once. But I just want to say thank you so much. All the best with the Bodyguard, Manchester Palace Theatre, the 3rd to the 15th of April. Come along and have a boogie, dance with somebody.
Please do. We look forward to seeing you all there.
Thank you so much and all the best.
Thanks, lovely. Bye-bye.
Bye.